Hello, friends. Amy Reed here in my Day Glow Orange. And in case you're wondering why I'm wearing this, it's actually a really great reason. And it's not because I look awesome in orange. It's because some of my friends from church do a grocery drive-through here in Sunnyvale to share groceries with our community. And I thought it was going to be chilly today. It was not. It was roasting outside while we were hustling those grocery bags into the backs of cars. And we just didn't have quite enough volunteers. So we had, I think, 13 cars backed up. There were like 4 on the street waiting to get in. So I was hustling, and then I came inside for a Bible study, and then I got freezing. So I put this very studly jacket back on, and I am loving it. Now, let's get down to our order of business today. In case I haven't got to meet you yet, my name is Amy. This is Ask a Christian. It is a place for authentic discussion surrounding the Christian worldview. And if you're exploring or strengthening your Christianity, but you don't want to get bossed around, this is a great place to have some discussion. I want to encourage you to ask me your questions, write into me. I may pick one of them to do a video. And of course, I am always enamored by my friends and family members and visitors who choose to subscribe. You can subscribe at youtube.com/askachristian, or of course follow us on Facebook, where it is Ask a Christian Friend. And if you have a discussion point or a question you want to ask, email me at askachristianfriend@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Also want to let you know that I do personal Bible studies and have a small group study coming up. And so if you like hanging out with me, we could do a little more of it. All right, let's get down to the question that Jim sent in a few weeks ago. He said, if God gives us, or God gives a human a fatal disease, shouldn't he accept God's decision and not beg through prayer that he reverse his decision? And kind of the bigger question he asked is, should a human challenge the will of God? So, Jim, I understand that you see begging through prayer or asking through prayer as not accepting God's decision and asking him to reverse it. So, interesting question, because I think that there is some kind of, stoicism at play here, where it seems like if you hear from God that your life is ending or you contract a disease, this is the condition of humanity, and I'm going to accept it with peace and grace and move on. But I want Jim to know, and other people to know, as I crinkle here in my own ear, there is a precedent, a biblical precedent, for asking God to change his mind, for disagreeing with God. And that's one of the things that interests me, fascinates me about Christianity. God presents himself as someone to be not necessarily bargained with. I think there's some denotations of that word that we'd have to look into, or connotations. And so I can't say that bargaining with God is what you're doing in prayer. However, if you're in conversation with God and you bring things up to him, I think that you'll find plenty of stuff in the Bible that backs up an opinion or desire to ask God if he's sure. This is not one of my points to make tonight, but it just came to mind. Jesus himself said, hey, God, if you want to pass this cup of crucifixion from me, I sure wouldn't mind. So opening up there. But there are 3 examples I thought of off the bat from the Old Testament I want to look at with you tonight, and one from the New Testament about talking to God. Maybe you want to call it bargaining with God, whatever you want to call it. Let's just take a quick look at these. And again, if you want to comment, if you want to talk to me, chat further about this, askchristianfriend@gmail.com is where you can get a hold of me. All right, first, I'm going to go out of order here because I want to go biblical order. The first one I was thinking of is the instance when Abraham pleads on behalf of the city of Sodom. We've talked about this in another Q&A, and that's probably why it came to mind first. But if you'll go to Genesis chapter 18, I'm going to read from my handy dandy ESV that my pops got me one Christmas. You can compare to any more standard text if you'd like. Let's look at chapter 18, verses 16 through 32. I won't read them all, but let's look at the key verse here. Check out verse 22. It says, these men who had visited Abraham, it says, the men set out for Sodom, but Abraham stood in God's path, blocking his way. That's going to be different in different translations, the word for God. Abraham confronted him. Are you serious? Are you planning on getting rid of the good people right along with the bad? What if there are 50 decent people left in the city? Will you lump the good with the bad and get rid of the lot? Wouldn't you spare the city for the sake of those 50 innocents? So here we have an instance of Abraham pleading with God to save the city of Sodom. If God can look down and find just a few good men, he starts with 50 and he kind of decreases it from there. And he says, won't you save the city? Now, God started off by saying he was going to destroy the city. And then Abraham bargains him down. God still doesn't find that many good men in the city, which is why it's destroyed later on. But you can see that Abraham's not afraid to bargain, if you want to call it that, not afraid to open discussion, not afraid to engage in questioning God. And that's a big part of what I want you to take away from this short study tonight. Now, there's another one. This one actually disturbed me as a kid, particularly. Let's go to Exodus chapter 39. And see, verses 9 through 14. So this one's particularly worrisome for me, and you'll see why here in a second. Exodus 32. Did I say 39? 32, 9 through 14. All right. God said to Moses, I look at this people. Oh, what a stubborn, hard-headed people. Let me alone now. Give my anger free rein to burst into flames and incinerate them. But I'll make a great nation out of you. Moses tried to calm God down. He said, why, God, would you lose your temper with your people? Why? You brought them out of Egypt in a tremendous demonstration of power and strength. Why let the Egyptians say he had it in for them? He brought them out so he could kill them in the mountains, wipe them right off the face of the earth. Stop your anger. Think twice about bringing evil against your people. All right, so here we have Moses stepping in on behalf of the people when God said he was going to try to destroy them. Now, I was going to leave this till the end and kind of get into an explanation later, but just in case this is the only part of this you watch, I want to make sure to let you know that I don't actually believe God was serious. I mean, I do think he was pained in his heart as a human being would when these guys just get free of Egyptian slavery. And then they go and build a golden calf. They go back into idol worship after they have seen the power of God. It's not a good look for them. And if you were the parent of such kids who, you just rescued them by the skin of their teeth from something, and then as soon as they are out of trouble, they go back looking for trouble, you would be a frustrated parent. And as we relate to God as a person, and as he relates to us as a person, we can see that he would certainly be frustrated. However, as we find out, God does not destroy the people, but what it seems to me here is that God is being super strong in his statements to make Moses fight for them, to grow Moses as a leader, to make Moses stand up for his people, because Moses is ticked anyway. But there's nothing like going up against an enemy to make you realize who your friends are. So I think God's playing enemy here so that Moses has the chance to see the good and love and defend his people. Now that's reading between the lines a little bit, but there again, what we're taking away from this is that people who consider themselves friends of God do not have a problem speaking up and telling God, no, don't do it. I'm not going to do it. Or I see something different, God. They're interacting with God not as though he is the almighty creator, which he is, but they're interacting with him as a person in a relationship. It's fascinating to me. All right. Another classic one uh, that really applies even more to Jim's question than these other ones have is found in 2 Kings chapter 20, and 2 Samuel. There we are in Kings. So let's go to 2 Kings 20 and look at verses 1 through 11. 2 Kings 20, 1 through 11. All right. This is the story of King Hezekiah and his prayer to God. Sometime later, Hezekiah became deathly sick. The prophet Isaiah, son of Amoz, paid him a visit and said, "Put your affairs in order. You're about to die. You haven't long to live." Hezekiah turned from Isaiah and faced God. I wonder what that means, where God was standing at the time. Maybe just faced heaven. Praying, "Remember, O God, who I am, what I've done. I've lived an honest life before you. My heart's been true and steady. I've lived to please you, lived for your approval." And then the tears flowed. Hezekiah wept. Isaiah, leaving, was not halfway across the courtyard when the word of God stopped him. "Go back and tell Hezekiah, prince of my people, God's word, Hezekiah. From the God of your ancestor David, I've listened to your prayer. I've observed your tears. I'm going to heal you." Now, Hezekiah ended up living 15 years beyond that point, beyond where he thought he was going to die. And so, again, we see Hezekiah not afraid to speak directly to God, not afraid to ask him to extend his life, talking to him as friend to friend. So I could stop there. I think that's a good sampling of what our friend Jim is talking about and asking about. Should these people just have decided that what God's will was, what he said was his will, was actually his will? We know that another verse in the Bible talks about the unchangingness of God and how he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So how do we reconcile these things where it seems like God has his mind changed? Well, I can tell you what I think. I would love to hear your own opinions. Before I do, I want to look at one more story, one more New Testament verse. This one's interesting to me because it involves Jesus, of course. And so we're not just talking about God the Father, or, maybe in our minds, a more distant God. But we're talking about Jesus here. So let's check out John chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. Now, this is the beginning of Jesus' ministry, his first miracle. So, John 2, 1 through 12. All right. 3 days later, there was a wedding in a village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. Jesus and his disciples were guests also. When they started running low on wine at the wedding banquet, Jesus' mother told him, "We're just about out of wine." Now, I love this part. Jesus said, "Is that any of our business, mother, yours or mine? This isn't my time. Don't push me." She went ahead anyway, telling the servants, "Whatever he tells you, do it." And of course, we know this is the beginning of Jesus' ministry, where he turned some giant water pots into wine, or potentially grape juice, also called wine. Anyway, again, it seems like Jesus changed his mind when his mother came and talked to him. Now, all right, here's the answer for me. Again, theologians or people who've studied this more, come at me with your best ideas. But what it seems to me is that by and large, God does what he intends to do, but he likes to interact with humans. He likes to give us a chance to strengthen our own faith. So I believe that in every one of these instances, God already had a plan to do what he ended up doing. I believe that God wanted to save Sodom, and that this is going to get real iffy, but I believe that if Abraham had asked that God would save Sodom even for one, I believe he would have. We don't know because Abraham stopped bargaining, but it was okay for him to open that bargain with God. Um, I fully believe that when God's talking to Moses about destroying the foolish people, God did not want to hurt his people. He just wanted to awaken Moses' leadership potential. And I believe that God wanted to extend Hezekiah's life, um, or at least always saw the option for it and was giving Hezekiah an opportunity to either, go peacefully now. But since he prayed for it, God was happy and saw, the good that might come out of the life extension. Um, Maybe the not so good. But none of these things do I believe that God had his mind solidly made up and then humanity was able to persuade him or beg him or bargain him. It seems more like God already wants to do things for people in order to reveal himself. But he's not just going to waste the miraculous. He's not just going to provide something that we haven't asked for, because then where do we get to see him show up? Um, and not that he doesn't give us gifts, not that he doesn't provide for us or do awesome things anyway. It's just when there's a couple of paths life could take, he wants to hear from us. He wants to be with us in the decision. And it gives us a chance to ask him what's best and to make our wants and desires known. Same thing with the New Testament verse. Absolutely believe Jesus showed up, knowing that it was close to his time to be stepping out, and that maybe he heard extra from God at the bequest of his mother. Anyway, these things are fun to think about and talk about. I cannot give you solid answers as this is an opinion-based type thing, but by and large, it seems like God already wants to do extra for us. He already wants to answer us, and he wants to hear from us so that when he does deliver, it acts as a faith strengthener for us, for his people. So that's it for today. Thank you for your time and attention. Jim, thank you for asking the question. I'm with you. I wonder the same kinds of things, and it's fun to discuss. But the point I wanted to leave you with tonight is that whether or not it is right to ask things of God, I think we do have precedent in the Bible for people who know and love God to challenge him, to be in discussion with him, and to put our requests before him in faith, saying things like, hey, here's what I think I want, but your will be done. Here's, it would feel like a gift to me if you did this, but your will be done. And I don't think that is an unfaithful way to live your life. So that's it. And if you have a question, if you'd like to study more with me on today's topic, if you would like to school me on today's topic, you're welcome to. Please email me at askachristianfriend@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm wishing you joy and peace for your journey, wherever that may lead. Thanks, and good night.